helps bridge communication gaps occurring inside and outside of an auto repair shop, providing industry-leading contactless service solutions in the new normal. He also is the co-owner of 2 shops in Dallas, Texas area, Golden Rule Auto Care. Did I get that right, Chris? Thank you for being with us. We're excited to hear your message today.
Excellent. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Brenda. And thank you, Jeff. And thank you for everybody on the call here. I'm excited to present my presentation on leadership today. Keys to becoming an effective leader. I had a podcast with Carm a couple weeks ago, and I guess Jeff caught some of it. So I kind of got a little passionate about leadership because I think that's what we've had to do these last couple months. We've had to step up and become, I think, very strong leaders in these uncertain times, whatever you want to call them. They're just very hard. Interestingly enough, I think that leadership is it's better when you get challenged. So I'm going to be presenting on leadership keys to becoming an effective leader. Who am I? Let's see, here we go. Here's a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm owner of 2 auto repair shops, co-owner, own a software company. I actually have 3 teams and lead 30 people. I also have a partner, Patrick, who is a business partner of mine. He actually got me into the industry. He's a ASE L1 Master Certified Technician. And I am more of a business guy. I don't work on cars, and I'm more of a software person. So it's been an interesting journey for me. 10 years ago, we got into this because we thought, hey, we could print money in auto repair, and boy, have we learned some serious lessons. Here's a couple pictures of my team and my teams. So my first question is, are leaders born or are leaders made? And I think this is a good question that most people ask. And I think this is where we kind of have to start with leadership. And I like John Maxwell. He's one of my favorite reads. And he says, of course, all leaders are born, right? He hasn't met any that have never been born. But I think it goes to the point of, can we help make ourselves better leaders? And here's a couple points and tips that I've certainly used over the time, and some tools that hopefully y'all can take away some of these tools for yourself as well. Now, I am going to say y'all a lot because I'm not from Seattle. I'm from Texas. So I like to use y'all, and you're going to hear that quite often in my presentation. First concept is, don't be an island, be a connector, and be a student of learning, right? I think this is one of the most important things that we need to learn as leaders. We are the lids to our organization. We forget that. We forget that in order for our organization to grow, that we have to grow. We have to be the ones who set the example of growth. This is out of the book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership with John Maxwell. And he talks about this in the first law. And I think it's very pertinent. And it is the law of the lid. So if you are a level 3 leader, your organization can only grow to a level 2. So I think we need to challenge ourselves to get to become that level 5 leader, and therefore we can have stronger organizations underneath us and stronger people underneath us if we realize we're the lid. How can we expand by growing, networking? I love ASA and all the different conferences out there that we have the opportunities. We did have the opportunities to go to, and unfortunately, we can't go to them. Like Jeff said, it's hard. I travel a lot because I own auto repair shops and a software company. I do give presentations. I do go man my booth, and I sometimes get to the point where I hate traveling. But then when I can't travel, I hate being at home. So it's kind of like I can't win in the current situation, but I do miss everybody. I do miss all my peers, and I like to sit in these classrooms ad nauseum at these shows. I mean, I not only present, which I appreciate the opportunity to present at ATE, but I like sitting in and watching the other presenters present as well. I also think the important thing here is if your people see you growing, then they're going to want to grow. I spend, once again, over 100 hours in personal development. I am a Toastmaster. I've been in Toastmasters for 15 years. I realized that was something that I wasn't very good at. I wasn't very confident at speaking in front of a group of people. Interestingly enough, I played in a rock band for 20 years, and I could get up there with a guitar and a microphone, and I can sing, and the more people, the better. But as soon as you took away the guitar and the microphone, I was in trouble. I didn't know what to do. So spending a lot of time just developing my communication skills and presentation has been one of my personal growth priorities over the last couple of years. And I've done a lot of this by pushing myself. Entrepreneurism, I think we call it ADHD now, and we give our kids drugs for it. Thank God my parents didn't give me drugs for it, and they've allowed me to push myself because that's what I need. I need a lot of things going on, and so pushing myself from one shop to two shops in a software company has had me to have to focus on leadership and really what is leadership and how to manage people and how to move people and how to motivate people. One of the big things, takeaways that I hope that we all do on this conference call is I hope we read. We read all the time. Readers are leaders and leaders are readers. I tell this to my two daughters who are 9 and 10 years old all the time. I tell them read books. Find a love of reading. It's magic. Little side note about me: when I was younger, there was a game called AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and it was a role-playing dice game that we played late nights, and we had our little lead figures that probably gave us cancer because we didn't realize that lead was bad then. But we would play this game, and it's funny, the fighter at the beginning of the game was the strongest and the wizard was the weakest. And interestingly enough, after time, the wizard became the strongest by reading and by consuming information. And I think that's the same in life. I think a lot of times we look at ourselves as fighters and we brute force through things versus taking the time to understand, learn, and listen, and then become wiser for it. If you hate reading, Audible is obviously a great way to consume books. I usually have a couple Audible books going on, and then I have a couple that I read paperback, and then I have a couple that I read on my phone. Um, Here's some interesting statistics about some leaders that read. Warren Buffett, I don't know if y'all know this, 5 to 6 hours a day. Bill Gates, 50 books a year. That's about one a week. Elon Musk, two books a day, which is a lot of reading. Mark Cuban, 3 hours a day. So I think you can just go on and on. Example. Steve Jobs, another big reader. My personal goal is $2 a month. That and most of the time I hit it. Sometimes I go over it, and sometimes I slack a little bit. I get on a book that I'm not so interested in, and it takes a little bit longer time to digest it. Three great books that I recommend. These would be what I consider Bible type books. This is one right here. It's actually on top of my Bible, and that the Bible is a great leadership book. But 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. If you're leading anything, I believe that this should be a book that you have handy all the time. I think the ideas and concepts in this book nail leadership absolutely in every which way that it can be found. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Interestingly enough, my father gave me that book when I was 18 years old, and he said, "Son, learn everything in this book," and it's one of those ones that I go to over and over again. And 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Another really, really excellent book. Be a connector. Force yourself to get to know your competitors. I think a lot of times we go to these conferences. That's why I like going to ATE and these conferences. I get a chance to, we all are competing. Maybe we're not in the same market, but we're competitors, and that's okay. But I think that we can certainly connect and get past the fact that there's probably no chance that I'm going to be, stealing any of your customers from Seattle. I even break bread with the shop owners in my neighborhood. There's one guy who's 7 miles away, Ken from Horizon Auto Center, and actually we've got lunch next Wednesday. So I go to lunch with local owners as well as I connect with owners all over. Social media, great way to connect. I actually just joined another Facebook group last night that I thought was it's a really good owners group that they invited me to. I'm very happy to join that. Listen and pay attention. Here's one of the things that I really get bothered about this industry is everybody knows everything. You go to a lot of these conferences, unfortunately, and nobody is really vulnerable, and they say that they got the greatest employees and the greatest processes, and we understand that no, we all have the same problems, and we all so a lot of times I think listening and having some empathy and sympathy among our peers is probably the right way to handle connecting with others. Of course, if we come across as knowing everything, then people don't see that as real, and that kind of makes it hard for us to connect. And then Remarkable Results Radio, as I was just talking about, Jeff heard me on there with Scott Brown, Caroline, Sherry Hamilton, all just really good people on this. And we talked about adapting or dying in the current situation of COVID. And one of the points I brought up then was, were you an island during COVID? Did you have other people that you could rely on and ask questions about PPP? As a matter of fact, right before this, I was in a 20 group meeting. It's funny, Jeff was like, yeah, I'm zoomed out. I just continuously am in Zoom meetings. And I was, I mean, I was in an hour and a half 20 group meeting, and we were talking about EIDL because they're talking about the new loan. So everybody's getting these emails right now. We get, the $10,000 dollars that they put towards PPP, but now they're saying, hey, you can take a loan up to 150,000 or a couple 100,000, and it's a 30-year note at 3.75% interest. So it's nice to be able to have a group of peers that we can ask these questions about. And the thing I like about Remarkable Results Radio is that you can go stalk pretty much anybody you want and find people that you want to become best friends with. I know, Jeff, you've been on the show. I think it's just a really good resource for us in the industry. And CARM gives it away for free. I'm big in technology, and I'm presenting at ATA for technology. It's what I've been doing for 20 years. I've been a developer for many years of my life. I actually have a degree in software engineering, and I think in leadership we tend to shy away from it. And I think that a lot of vision and a lot of companies is driven by technology and the new things that are coming out. And I think us as leaders and founders and business owners, we need to embrace technology versus look away from technology. Here's a couple good resources. If you don't have these resources, these are some of the places that I go for information for technology. TechCrunch.com, I read that every morning. Morning Brew and The Hustle, they're just they are newsletters that go out every morning, and they talk about the latest technologies, and they'll talk about how society has adopted these, and it's very interesting. So you can get at least some sort of understanding of what's happening in technology in the world today, and I think that's extremely important. Cars, as we know, are getting more difficult. So I think just a way to lean into technology is not only go to these resources, but buying hybrid cars for your shop and electric cars. So I did this for my shop. I bought a hybrid car because we were afraid of the batteries. So I said, well, we're going to learn how to work on them. So we bought a hybrid car, and guess what? We work on hybrids now. So it's amazing when the car was in the bay and they could learn how to properly use it. And they weren't as necessarily worried that it was a customer's car they were going to mess up. I have not bought an electric car yet. I do plan to when they get a little more affordable. Fortunately, they're a little bit out of my grasp right now. Then I think just bringing in technology, I'm big on these last couple months where we've had this touchless type contact or contactless type service. We always talk about in the industry how to meet our customers where they want to be met. And I don't think a lot of times we understand what that is. And I think these last couple of months have forced us to meet our customers where they want to be met. Interesting, Jeff, that they have to wear masks. We don't have that in Texas yet, but we do have a lot of people that want to wear masks. And my guys do respect that. The counter, we wear masks, and we have no problem if people want to wear masks. We're still allowing them to drop off, pick up. Basically just a touchless process. So I think bringing in technologies now more than ever to allow for this process is important. I think moving forward, it's just going to be something that is going to stick. And I've always said that technology is kind of one of those plus ones that we should all adopt in our shops anyways to make us a little bit better as far as customer service goes. But I think that there's an opportunity here, once again, to meet people where they are with these COVID struggles. Unfortunately, I think due to the fact that it's an election year, that COVID's going to come back, whether or not, and they're already saying that in the news, we're already seeing sparks. And I think that because of the election year, regardless of affiliation, that COVID's going to come back, and it's going to potentially slow us down again. So I think that adopting these technologies that are out there right now, the text to pay, the text messaging DVIs, is something that is critical for shops and their success over the next couple months. And then I would even say the future, right? New technologies. I'm big on looking at new technologies. I don't necessarily understand all of them, but it's kind of one of those things is you kind of immerse yourself in these technologies. Eventually things click and they start making sense. AI and machine learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning. There's just a lot of information on autonomous driving and how AI is, it's object recognition. There's a lot of things in AI. It's a broader concept, but it's definitely something that we should all be very aware of, and we should be reading articles about it and what does it mean. Here's some that I think a little bit closer: voice technologies. I think we're going to see a lot more with Alexa skills. We're already seeing that. I bring this up to shops all the time. Hey, do you have an Alexa in your house? How many people have an Alexa in their house? And you maybe get half the room that'll raise their hand and say Alexa. And then the first thing I'll ask is, when you people ask, what's the top 5 auto repair shops in your market? Does Alexa say that you're in the top 3? Or do they say that you're in the top 5? Because your customers, when they have a problem, they're asking Alexa, hey, what's a close auto repair shop? What's the number 1 auto repair shop in my area? And if yours isn't the number 1 answer or number 2 answer or number 3 answer, if they're asking for top 5, then you're already behind. So learning what it means to be one of those answers that Alexa gives, I think, is very important, because voice is going to be where we all go. Unfortunately, typing is very clunky, and a mouse, if you've ever tried to teach somebody how to use a mouse, it's just not natural. The voice is absolutely natural, and those technologies have come a long way with voice technologies. 3D printing, I found this interesting, that Ford is already starting to they're starting to print parts for their vehicles. So on the Shelby Mustang, I think the 2019, there's actually 2 pieces on the brake component that they print in-house. That's interesting. So we know that a lot of parts from China are going to be delayed because of COVID, and they get manufactured in Canada and in Mexico. So is this going to drive technology quicker for us to be able to print or start printing parts? Or when does AutoZone, O'Reilly's, and all these other companies start saying, hey, we can print a couple of these things and get them to you sooner? I don't know. I know there's always a couple articles here and there that talk about the what this means. I think it's far in the future, but how far in the future, I don't know. A lot of times these catastrophes drive technology to pick up that much quicker. Robotics being a perfect example. I don't know if y'all have seen this about the robotic tire changer, but this is happening over in a shop in California, I believe, and they're prototyping it. The guy who built this, Victor, I believe he worked for Tesla, and it's pretty interesting. This was an article in Ratchet Wrench, but I think this guy's coming a long way, and he's gonna do some pretty amazing things. And then also in California, Flippy, burger flipping robot. So already you're starting to see where not just the kiosk at the front counter are being replaced, but this robot apparently can flip a burger right every time. New interesting technologies coming out. And once again, as leaders, we need to understand that. My last concept here is learning to delegate. I think this is super important. I think that as leaders, it's kind of interesting. We're control freaks, so we do everything to control our environment. So most of the time we become leaders because of somebody else not doing a good job of controlling the situation. So we then say, well, we can do it better. So then we get the control, and then it's very hard for us to then give control to our managers or to the leaders that we're trying to bring up. Because as you can see here, we can do it faster, we can do it smarter, we can do it better. And I think this is where a lot of single independent shop owners fall short, is they get to the point of getting to lead their shop, and then they have a problem giving that control to the other people in the shop. And it's very hard. Once again, I'm kind of blessed with the fact that I have this superpower of wanting to do multiple things. So I want to replace myself, I want to put somebody there, and then I want to go on to the next thing. I just don't want to be continuing to do the same thing over and over again. And I think this is a big one. We lose our feelings of importance. One of the things when we're a doer versus a leader, a servant, somebody who's helping remove barriers in somebody else's life, we like it. We like it when we're disrupted daily. I went and visited a shop owner not too long ago, and I was sitting in his office, and every 5 minutes he was getting interrupted. And we were trying to go over his numbers, his P&L, his balance sheet, why he's supposed to be making money and why he's not making money. And at the end of the day, he looks at me and goes, Chris, I can't get anything done. I was like, well, yeah, because I mean, you're allowing them to disrupt you all day and not answer their own questions, right? You want to be the one who's answering their questions, because if not, we wouldn't be sitting in your office right now. We would go sit across the street where they can't get a hold of you, and unless the place is burning down, then they're fine. They'll figure it out. And then, of course, we suck as leaders. We hire horrible people. It's just hard. We don't really look at ourselves as leaders, so therefore we don't develop ourselves as leaders. And once again, my journey on leadership the last couple of months has been a lot of reading. Well, not last couple of years, I apologize. A lot of reading and a lot of paying attention to other leaders and how they delegate, how they look for vision in their future, how they manage technology, and all the things around building their organizations. I truly believe if you're a good leader, I don't care if it's a conference, I don't care if it's your business's conferences, I don't care if it's auto repair, I don't care if it's an ice cream shop, I don't care if it's mowing yards, I don't care. If you're good at leading people, then you can do anything that you want to do. Of course, setting expectations and managing those expectations is very important in delegation. I think that we forget that too, making sure that you have a lot of KPIs and measurements that you can give to your team. That's where we fall short is if your team doesn't know where the goalposts are, then how can they score a touchdown? And I think a lot of times we move the goalposts too often. With my teams, I meet weekly with my managers. We have several KPIs. Those are daily sales goals, making sure our GP is hit on our parts, making sure that our car count is hit. And if it's not, then we discuss why it wasn't. Was there something going on that we should be aware of? Was it just a temporary blip? What was happening here? And then we do a quarterly manager meeting with all the shops, and then I encourage my teams to do daily scrums, which is just, hey, let's what do we got going on today? What are things that we need to remove, barriers we need to remove, and make sure those jobs that you have are successful for the day. So like I said before, I think in the art of delegation, the main concept here should be just replacing yourself, and you should find other people to step up and become the leader. And then you can go on to do the more leading and more building of more people. Like I said, I've referred to this book a couple times. I think it's basically the Bible on leadership, and that's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Law of Empowerment: only secure leaders give power to others. And that's a tough understanding. You have to be secure with what you do in order to give the rights of your leadership to other people, but it helps you build that organization. Force yourself to reflect on your business. This is something that I wanted to add in here because I always love this concept of work on your business, not in your business. Here's something that I force myself to do every week, and I'm hoping you got a little couple takeaways. Everybody on here, including you, Jeff, I hopefully I can teach you a couple things. I'm an avid learner, so one of the things I do is reflect weekly, and I spend an hour asking myself these questions. And these questions morph over time. But I think in order to work on our business and not in our business, we need to be asking these conceptualized questions and giving ourselves time to think through these things, because I don't think we give ourselves enough time to think through the higher level strategies of what's happening. I think we get consumed too much in the day-to-day. I hated it that everybody always told me I needed to work on my business and not in my business, but nobody really told me what working on my business meant. And I think this is a way to conceptualize. Once you start asking yourself these questions, then these higher level type questions become a lot easier when you start thinking about how your business is going to function over a period of time. Set goals, then go away unless the building's on fire. Once again, I think these are kind of three important topics of leadership. Don't be an island, be a connector, be a student of life. Readers are leaders. Make sure you're going to these conferences. I think they're hugely, I mean, the value add is it's immense. I don't need speakers over and over again. I think that I pull something out every time. And then of course, leaning into technology and then learning to delegate. I believe that I dropped there for a second. I apologize. My kids are probably on their iPads. And there you go. Here's my contact information, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you, Jeff, and your team, and the people on this call.
Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate you being on. And how about a hand for? You can do this. This is another way to do a hand. Hey, and I did want to thank Karen from ATI. ATI is also helping with our virtual ATE. So thank you, Karen. I appreciate you stepping up and helping us out on that. So Next week, Brenda, you want to tell them what we have scheduled for next week?
Well, actually, Karen can talk about that because we have ATI scheduled.
Great.
Karen, are you there?
I am. Yes, I am. Yes, so it is Thursday the 25th, and it is going to be Mike Haley. He is one of our directors here at ATI in our coaching department, and he will be talking about building a bench. So stay tuned for that. I believe that just went out yesterday or day before with Brenda in the Dateline. So Mike will be, he's really looking forward to doing it and working with everybody there. So thank you very much.
Great. And then we got Jimmy Lee on there. Jimmy, thank you from Kukui. Yeah, for helping sponsor the virtual ATE also, doing a class at ATE. So Jimmy's going to be a speaker at the ATE. So looking forward to that. So, well, thanks everyone for being on the call, and look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day. Thanks again, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you. Bye, Brenda. Bye,
Bye.
Jeff.